On August 11th, the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame announced Taylor Swift for its class of 2026. At 36, she is its youngest electee ever. The ceremony is still ahead, so this is not footage of a Nashville induction. It is an announced forthcoming honor, but the receipt is already historic. 20 years after her first album, Nashville is formally placing Swift's name into a songwriting line that includes Dolly Parton, Bob Dylan, and Willie Nelson. That does not mean she is the first songwriter to belong to both major halls. She is not. It means that in 1 year, at 36, two different institutions reached two different decisions about the same body of work. The Songwriters Hall of Fame inducted her in New York in June. The Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame has now elected her for a formal induction later this year. Similar names, separate organizations, separate histories, separate voting, and separate cultural lenses. The National Songwriters Hall of Fame describes its mission across every genre and makes writers eligible 20 years after the first commercial release of a song. Its official 2026 materials identifies Swift through songs including Love Story, Blank Space, Anti-Hero, The Last Great American Dynasty, and All Too Well's 10-minute version. She entered that hall in June, becoming its youngest woman inductee. Stevie Wonder remains the youngest overall, inducted at 32. Nashville's hall is older in a different way, founded in 1970 and operated by the nonprofit Nashville Songwriters Foundation. It is dedicated to the writing legacy associated with Music City. Its own language calls induction the highest honor bestowed by Nashville's songwriting community. Swift was elected in its Contemporary Songwriter-Artist category in her first year of eligibility and will join 254 previously inducted writers when the gala takes place. So the real story is not that one hall finally corrected the other, or that Nashville once decided she was a bad writer. Neither claim is supported. The story is two constituencies recognizing the same career from different directions. One through a broad genre-spanning American songwriting canon, the other through the city and professional community where Swift learned how songs become work. Her path into that community began before celebrity could distort the evidence. Nashville's official biography says she began writing songs and playing guitar as a preteen. Her family moved to Hendersonville in 2004. At 14, she signed with Sony ATV Tree Music Publishing as the youngest writer in that company's history. Her self-titled debut followed in 2006. That release date is why 2026 is not random. It closes the 20-year eligibility clock. And there is unusually direct evidence of what writing meant to her then. In an interview recorded when she was 14, Swift said, "Writing is everything to me." She described picking up guitar at 12, writing her first song after learning 3 chords, and not stopping. Near the end, asked what she would do if she did not become a star. She said she would write for other artists. Fame was one possible outcome. Writing was already the plan. That distinction matters because commercial scale can make any craft argument lazy. Swift is enormously famous. Fame can amplify a song, mobilize attention, and turn a release into an event. It cannot retroactively write the internal rhyme, choose the revealing detail, control the point of view, or decide when a bridge should change the meaning of everything before it. Popularity is evidence of reach. It is not by itself proof of craft. The craft has to survive a closer reading. Early on, that craft often worked through emotional specificity. The object in a room, the social humiliation, the sentence somebody should have said. Her collaborator Liz Rose later recalled that teenage Swift could already hear production stops and arrived with a stream of ideas. Rose's account of You Belong With Me is useful because it avoids both myths. Collaboration did not mean a committee manufactured Taylor Swift, and solo writing did not make collaboration fraudulent. Rose described her role as staying out of the way, rather than imposing rules on songs Swift clearly owned. Speak Now then supplied a different kind of evidence. The Songwriters Hall of Fame's official Swift biography identifies it as a singular songwriting effort, with no co-writers across its 14 original tracks. That fact should not be inflated into a courtroom drama. The official biography frames the album against doubts about Swift's contribution, but the safer claim is simpler. Whatever arguments surrounded her, Speak Now demonstrated that she could sustain an entire album's characters, hooks, scenes, and bridges alone. The more revealing story is what happened after she had proved that point. She did not turn solo authorship into a purity test. She kept writing alone when a song called for it, and she kept building with co-writers and producers when another perspective opened a door. That is not retreat. It is a working songwriter choosing tools. Her later catalog expands the evidence beyond diary-like autobiography. In Apple Music's official interview about Evermore, Swift explained that writing only intensely personal songs began to feel unsustainable. So she created characters, arcs, in an imagined town. She described fiction as a way to keep telling emotionally recognizable stories without making every song a public deposition about her own life. The craft evolved from reporting feeling to designing narrative. You can hear the continuity anyway. The teenage writer said she processed experience by turning it into songs. The adult writer still starts with a human pressure point, but now she can move it through invented characters, historical figures, shifting narrators, and collaborators with very different musical vocabularies. The scale changed. The instinct did not. That is why the dual hall lineage matters, but it has to be stated accurately. Swift is joining an existing overlap, not creating it. Comparing the official Nashville list with official Songwriters Hall of Fame profiles confirms Dolly Parton, Bob Dylan, Willie Nelson, Alan Jackson, John Prine, Tom T. Hall, Bill Anderson, Liz Rose, and Hillary Lindsey in both institutions. They do not represent one genre, one method, or one level of celebrity. What they share is a catalog that outlived the release cycle and became part of how American songs are discussed. The comparison is not a claim that Swift writes like Dylan, sings like Dolly, or has Willie's biography. Hall of Fame lists are not power rankings. The meaningful connection is vocational. These are people whose names can be separated from a single recording and still describe a body of writing. Nashville's vote says Swift's catalog now belongs in that conversation from the city's point of view too. And Youngest Ever needs the same precision. Youngest Ever does not mean best ever. It does not mean every older writer waited longer, because Swift surpassed them. Eligibility systems, categories, voting bodies, and careers differ. It means exactly what Nashville says. No person entered this hall at a younger age. Swift reached eligibility after the required 20-year career marker and was elected immediately at 36. The speed is part of the distinction, not a substitute for the work. Her statement after the announcement returned to that work. She said she had fixated on Nashville as a child because she wanted to learn with and from the best. She then praised a town where writers show up even when the mysterious muses and the magic don't. That is a much better frame than genius floating above effort. Inspiration matters. So does arriving on the day when inspiration does not. 20 years can flatten a career into trophies. This honor does the opposite if we let it. It points back to a 12-year-old learning 3 chords and a 14-year-old saying writing was everything. Then came a teenager co-writing without surrendering ownership, a young artist carrying an album alone, and an adult writer learning that fiction could hold truths autobiography could not. At 36, Taylor Swift is not being welcomed into songwriting because fame finally became impossible to ignore. She is being recognized for the thread that was there before the stadiums, the decision to turn an observation into a line into a scene, and a scene into something strangers could inhabit. The youngest Nashville electee ends up looking remarkably like the kid who said she could not stop writing. If you like evidence-led Taylor stories that take the song seriously without turning every fact into mythology, like this video and subscribe to TLDRHQ. There are 20 years of writing here, and we are going back to the receipts.